Very good morning, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about the very interesting law, the law of diminishing marginal utility. So the law of diminishing marginal utility, this is the basic law of consumption, and this law which throw light on the consumer behavior. First time this law that is developed by Gaussen and later on popularized by Alfred Marshall. And before going to discuss this basic law, it is better to understand whatever we discussed in the last class, that is the meaning of utility, features of utility, how the total utility is calculated and marginal utility is calculated. These all things are very important and very useful to understand this law. And this law, that is first time, once again I will repeat, that is developed by Gaussen and popularized by Alfred Marshall. And what is the basic hint of this law, or what is the basic content of this law? According to this law, as we consume more and more of the same commodity, the additional utility or the marginal utility of that commodity goes on declining. Once again I will repeat, as we consume more and more of the same commodity, more and more of the same commodity, the additional utility or the marginal utility which we get from that unit or that commodity, that goes on declining. So the total utility that goes on increasing, but the marginal utility, that is additional utility, that goes on declining. According to this law, once again I will repeat, the marginal utility of the commodity goes on declining as we consume more and more of the same commodity. Take for example, so when we eat, that is a peda, so the first unit of that peda which gives us more utility, and when we again consume the second one, and then third one, then fourth one, then fifth one, definitely the marginal utility, that means the utility derived from the second, the utility derived from the third, and the utility derived from the fourth or fifth, that goes on declining. So this is the basic hint of the theory. Then as we all know that economic laws and theories are definitely based upon given assumptions. So it is first better to understand the important assumptions of the law. So there are few assumptions are given here. The first one, the units of the consumption must be in standard. The second one, units must be identical. Units of the commodity should be used continuously. Consumer must be rational or an ordinary person. Utility can be measured in cardinal numbers. Let us discuss one by one in detail. Come to the first one. The units of consumption must be in standard. The units of consumption must be in standard. Whatever we consume, that must and should be in standard size. Take for example, cup of tea, glass of cool drink, and apple, like this. So the units of consumption must be in standard. It means neither too big nor too small. Neither too big nor too small. Take for example, that is, we will give the example of, that is a peda. So the units of a peda must and should be in standard size. So it is neither too big nor too small. So the units of consumption must and should be standard. Neither too big nor too small. If the unit, the size of that particular unit, if it is too small, when we consume that peda one by one, definitely it gives, that is, greater utility. So the law depends upon the basic assumption, that is, the units of consumption must be in standard size, neither too big nor too small. Then come to the second one, units must be identical. Whatever we consume, that is, take for example pedas, the consumption of pedas. So how many pedas? The 6 pedas are there. Take for example. So the 6 pedas must and should be same in size. Take for example the size of the first peda, that is this one. and the second paida, it goes on declining. So like this. What happens? If it is the case, the marginal utility increases. So they assume that units must be in identical. So 6 units are there. Like for example, the units must and should be remains the same. No change in the size of that paida. This is the second very important assumption. And come to the third one, units of the commodity should be used continuously. Units of the commodity used should be continuously. There is no time gap or there is no time interval between the consumption of units. If you take for example, the first unit which we consume at the time of breakfast, and the second paida at 11 o'clock, and the third paida at the time of lunch, and the fourth one at the time of evening tea, or the last one at the time of dinner. What happens? So here time interval is there. Automatically the marginal utility of that particular paida goes on increasing. So what they assumed? They assumed units of the commodity should be used continuously. No time gap or no time interval. So the consumption must and should be continuous. This is the third very interesting assumption of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Come to the fourth one. Consumer must be rational or an ordinary person. Consumer must be, that is, rational or an ordinary person. So the law of diminishing marginal utility, it is not possible in case of abnormal or that is extraordinary person. It is applicable only in case of ordinary person. So that means he must and should be rational or a common man. And come to the last one, utility can be measured in cardinal numbers. And we already know that there are two approaches to study, that is the consumer behavior. The first one cardinal approach and the second one ordinal approach. And according to the cardinal approach, numbers are used. And these two approaches that is used in our study, that is cardinal and ordinal. So numbers are used here because the numbers are easily added and subtracted or multiplied, they can be divided and it is very easy. So we assume that utility can be measured in cardinal numbers. On the basis of these interesting assumptions, that is the law is popularized by Alfred Marshall. Okay, friends, once again I will discuss, just will go through the assumptions. The units of consumption must be in standard. Whatever we consume must and should be in standard size, neither too big or not too small. And the second one, units must be in identical. Whatever we consumed, take for example, paida is taken in our example. How many paidas are there? Imagine 6 paidas are there. So the size of the paidas must and should be remains the same. And then units of the commodity should be used continuously. So we have to consume all the paidas continuously. If what happens? If there is a gap between the consumption of first and second and third and fourth and fifth, definitely the marginal utility increases. And come to the next one, consumer must be rational or ordinary person. So this is a very interesting assumption. And the last one, utility can be measured in cardinal numbers, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. So with the help of these all assumptions, let us try to understand the law with the help of, that is, numerical example and diagram. Yes, this is the very interesting one. The law of diminishing marginal utility. So we already know that how to calculate total utility and marginal utility in detail in the last session. So with the help of the calculation, let us try to understand these all things. So one table is given here. Yes, so there are two concepts. So one is total utility and another one is marginal utility. So we all know that how the total utility is calculated and how the marginal utility is calculated. So total utility is summation of mu, or total utility is equal to utility of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. So how the marginal utility is calculated? Marginal utility is calculated change in total utility, that is change in total utility divided by change in, that is quantity. So with the help of this, so we'll try to understand the law. Yes, see here, the first column units are given, and in the second column total utility is given, and in the third column marginal utility is given. So first column 6 units are there, as we already mentioned. 5 you paid us, we want to consume. So we'll write the total utility column for first 12, second 20, third 26, 4, 30, then 30, and then 28. So let us try to calculate marginal utility. So how the marginal utility is calculated? Change in total utility divided by change in quantity. And remember one interesting point, marginal utility remains the same for the first one. If the total utility is 12, then marginal utility is also 12. So come to the second one. So what is the marginal utility for the second unit? How it is calculated? Change in total utility divided by change in quantity. What is the change here? So the difference between the first and second. So that is 8. 8 divided by change in quantity, that is 1. Your answer is equal to 8. So like this. So this is 8. This is 6. So this is 4. And here it is 0 and minus 2. So once again I will repeat. If the total utility is given, so it is very easy to calculate marginal utility. If marginal utility is given, it is very easy to calculate total utility. So just we discussed how the marginal utility is calculated. How it is calculated? Change in total utility divided by change in Q. So for first it remains the same. The second one, what is the difference between the first and the second total utility? That is 8. 8 divided by 1 is equal to 8. So it is 6, it is 4, it is 0 and it is minus 2. Yes, just to try to calculate the total utility. What is the total utility? So summation of MU, or utility of first unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit or fifth unit. Okay, see here. So what is this? Summation of marginal utility. So for first it remains the same. So marginal utility of the first is 12 and the second is 8. 12 plus 8 is equal to what? 20. Yes. So see here, then what is the total utility of the third? So we have to calculate, add these all. 12 plus 8 plus 6. So what is this? 26. So when we add, so what is this? 30. So 12 plus 8 plus 6 plus 4 is equal to 30. So 30 plus 0 is equal to what? 30. So minus 2, that is equal to what? 8. So in this way, so the total utility and marginal utility is calculated. And with the help of this example, let us try to understand the law of diminishing marginal utility. What is the statement of the law? According to the law of diminishing marginal utility, as we consume more of the same commodity, definitely the marginal utility goes on declining and the total utility goes on increasing but at a decreasing rate. Once again I will repeat, marginal utility goes on declining. So, fifth unit it becomes 0. After that 0, when we consume one more unit of paida, then definitely it becomes negative. So, this is the very interesting one. So, for the first unit, the marginal utility is 12 and the total utility is 12. And the second one, the marginal utility is 8. So, and the total utility is 20. So, 12 plus 8 is equal to 20. So, when we consume, what happens? The marginal utility again declines. For the first paida, it gives us 12. And the second, it gives us that is 8. And for third, that is 6. Again, we consume one more paida. What happens? The marginal utility declines. When we consume one more paida, what happens? It becomes 0. And after that, it becomes negative. So, in this way, so according to the law of diminishing marginal utility, so as we consume more of the same commodity, so definitely the marginal utility, it means the additional utility which we get from the consumption of additional unit, that goes on declining. And this law is also explained with the help of diagram. See here. So, we know that two axes are there. OX and OY. And on X axis, units are taken, and on Y, total utility and marginal utility is considered. Yes? So, scale is very important. So, go through these all numbers and take the perfect scale. So, see here, for units, simply I will take one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many units are there? 6 units are there in our example. So, I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here the scale is very important. So, better to take the scale of 2 or 3. Yes. So, for the first we try to draw marginal utility and then total utility. First unit, yes, 12 units of marginal utility. Then second, it is 8. Then third, 6. fourth, 4, 0, and then it becomes negative. When we will collect these all, what will get? Marginal utility curve. What is this? Marginal utility curve. We'll come to the next one. Total utility. So 12. Then second one 20. Third one 26. Fourth 30. And fifth also 30. And declining. This is what? Total utility curve. And this is what? Marginal utility curve. This is what? Total utility. So this is about the numerical example, and this is the diagram. And we have to write the scale on right side of the diagram. So on OX what is given, and on OY what is given, we have to write, and then scale we have to write there. So this is about the law of diminishing marginal utility. In the next session we will discuss about the importance of the law and limitations of the law,